A mother abandons her daughter on a deserted road, convinced she is right. An unexpected encounter changed the destiny of a girl in an orphanage. The pain of the past transforms into deep guilt for the millionaire woman. A simple song reveals a secret that leads the mother to seek reconciliation. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and let us know which city you're watching from. The grey sky of an autumn morning seemed to foreshadow the drama that was about to unfold on Interstate 95. Heather Morrison, a 28-year-old businesswoman, drove her silver Mercedes with trembling hands on the steering wheel. Beside her in the passenger seat, Bella, her 6-year-old daughter, hugged a small pink backpack, not understanding the real reason for this sudden trip. "Mummy, where are we going?" Bella asked for the 10th time, her big brown eyes reflecting the innocence that still didn't comprehend the magnitude of what was to come. Heather kept her eyes fixed on the road, trying to ignore the lump forming in her throat. The interior of the car was heavy with the silence that followed. Heather had planned this moment for weeks, convincing herself it was the only way out. After the turbulent end of her relationship with Richard, Bella's father, she had plunged into an emotional abyss from which she couldn't emerge. Sleepless nights, anxiety attacks, and the constant feeling of failure consumed her. "Just a little longer, sweetheart," Heather replied, her voice faltering slightly. Through the rearview mirror, she watched her daughter play distractedly with the charm bracelet she had received on her last birthday. Each charm told a story: the ballet slipper from her first ballet recital, the microphone representing her love for singing, the star that, according to Heather, shone as brightly as her daughter's eyes. The car began to slow down, entering a less busy secondary road. Heather had chosen this location carefully, close enough to the city for someone to find Bella quickly, but far enough that no one would recognize her. "Honey, I need you to be strong," Heather began, parking the car on the shoulder. Her hands were shaking even more now. "Mommy needs to take care of some things and you'll have to wait here for a little bit." Bella frowned, her expression changing from confusion to fear. "But I want to go with you, Mommy. Please don't leave me here." Tears began to well up in her eyes, and she clutched her backpack even tighter to her chest. Heather took a deep breath, gathering all the strength she could muster not to break down right there. She had packed some essential belongings in Bella's backpack: clothes, her favorite teddy bear, a small water bottle, and a little notebook where she had written a message that her daughter would only understand years later. "You'll be fine, my love. Someone will find you soon," and Heather couldn't finish the sentence. Bella's crying intensified, and she tried to hold onto her mother's arm as she opened the car door. "Mommy, please. I promise I'll be good. I promise I won't make a mess anymore. Please don't go." Bella's desperate screams echoed down the deserted road as Heather, with a shattered heart, helped her out of the car. On the roadside, Bella sobbed, her small hands firmly grasping the hem of her mother's skirt. Heather, with mechanical movements, disentangled herself from her daughter's grip and walked quickly back to the car. Each step felt like a stab in her chest. "Mommy! Mommy!" Bella's screams pierced the air as Heather started the car. Through the rearview mirror, she saw the small silhouette of her daughter running after the vehicle until she became just a distant dot in the landscape. Miles down the road, Heather finally allowed her own tears to fall. The weight of her decision began to manifest in waves of guilt and regret. But there was no turning back. She had convinced herself that Bella would have a better life away from her and her problems. Meanwhile, on the road, Bella sat on the ground, hugging her knees and crying copiously. From her backpack fell the little notebook where, unbeknownst to her, her mother had written, "Forgive me one day, my little star. Mommy is sick in her soul and needs to heal so as not to hurt you." The sound of a truck approaching cut through the air. Joe, a middle-aged truck driver who had been driving this route for decades, spotted the small, lonely figure by the roadside. His heart tightened when he realized it was a child. Immediately, he turned on his hazard lights and stopped the truck. "My God, little girl, what are you doing here alone?" Joe approached cautiously, noticing Bella's red eyes and tear-stained face. My mommy..." Bella couldn't complete the sentence, a new bout of crying taking over her small body. Joe immediately understood the situation, a mixture of anger and compassion filling his being. "Come here, little one. Let's get you out of here," he said gently. "What's your name?" "Bella," she replied between sobs, still clutching her pink backpack as if it were her only connection to the world she knew. Joe knew exactly what to do. He knew a children's shelter in the nearest town, run by nuns he occasionally helped with donations. There Bella would be safe until the authorities could take the necessary measures. As the truck moved away from the road where everything had changed, Bella looked out the window, her tears slowly drying on her face. In her childish heart, a promise began to form. One day she would find her mother again, not to return, but to show who she had become despite the abandonment. St. Clair's home, with its pastel-colored walls and well-tended garden, would be Bella's new address. Sister Grace, a nun with a serene expression and kind eyes, received the still frightened little girl from Joe's hand, the truck driver who had found her. "We'll take good care of her," the nun assured, as Joe explained the situation. "Bella, dear, shall we see your new home?" The girl hesitated, clutching her pink backpack even tighter to her chest. Her eyes wandered around the unfamiliar environment, registering every detail with the natural distrust of someone who had just had their world turned upside down. "Thank you for everything, Mr. Joe," Bella murmured, her voice still choked. The truck driver knelt down to be at her eye level. "It's going to be okay, little one. Sister Grace and the other sisters are wonderful people. And whenever I pass through here, I'll come visit you, deal?" After Joe's departure, Sister Grace led Bella through the orphanage corridors. The place was clean and organized, with colorful drawings decorating the walls and the distant sound of children's laughter echoing through the hallways. "This will be your room," the nun presented, opening the door to a shared dormitory. 4 beds were arranged in an organized manner, 3 of them already occupied by other girls. "You'll share the space with Madison, Lucy, and Chloe." Madison, an 8-year-old girl with curly hair and an easy smile, was the first to approach. "Hi, you can have the bed near the window. It's the best. You can see the stars at night." Bella just nodded, still unable to match the new roommate's enthusiasm. Sister Grace, noticing the newcomer's discomfort, suggested she have some time alone to organize her belongings. Sitting on the bed indicated by Madison, Bella finally opened her pink backpack. Besides the carefully folded clothes, she found her favorite teddy bear, Benny, which her mother had included. At the bottom of the backpack, she discovered the little notebook she didn't know was there. As she opened the notebook, her small hands trembled upon recognizing her mother's neat handwriting. Even at just 6 years old, Bella could already read reasonably well. Heather had always made a point of stimulating her learning. With difficulty, she began to decipher the written words. "My little star, I know that one day you'll understand that sometimes love means making difficult decisions." Bella abruptly closed the notebook, unable to continue reading. The tears returned in full force, and she buried her face in Benny, muffling her sobs. This was how Madison found her minutes later. Without saying anything, the older girl sat down next to Bella and began to stroke her hair, exactly as her own mother used to do before she too left. "I cried a lot when I first got here too," Madison confided. "But you know what? Here, we're never alone. We're all sisters now." The following days were a blur of adaptation for Bella. Sister Grace established a routine that included classes at the orphanage's own school, mealtimes, chores, and leisure moments. The nun closely observed how the new intern behaved, concerned about her constant silence. During meals, Bella barely touched her food. In class, although she paid attention, she rarely participated. On the playground, she preferred to sit alone, watching the other children play. Her only constant companion was Madison, who seemed to have assumed the role of protector. It was Madison who discovered Bella's special talent. One night, while everyone was asleep, she heard a soft voice singing. It was Bella, sitting near the window, quietly singing to her teddy bear Benny a lullaby her mother used to sing. "You sing really well," Madison whispered, startling Bella. "Why don't you sing in the church choir? Sister Regina is always looking for new voices." Bella shook her head negatively. "Mommy always sang with me," she murmured, her voice breaking on the last word. "And now you can sing for both of you," Madison replied, with the wisdom that only children who have already faced losses possess. In the following weeks, Madison's constant presence and Sister Grace's infinite patience began to take effect. Bella was still quiet, but she started to participate more in activities. During art classes, she surprised everyone with her detailed drawings, always depicting a woman with long hair with her back turned to a girl. A month after her arrival, during a particularly difficult afternoon, Sister Grace found Bella writing furiously in her little notebook. "What are you writing, dear?" the nun asked gently. "I promise," Bella replied, with surprising determination for someone so young. "One day she'll see me and she'll regret it." Sister Grace sat down next to the girl, carefully choosing her words. "You know, Bella, sometimes people make wrong choices when they're hurt. It doesn't justify it, but it explains it. And you have every right to feel angry, sad, everything your heart needs to feel." For the first time since her arrival, Bella allowed herself to be hugged by someone other than Madison. In Sister Grace's arms, she cried all the tears she still held inside. "But remember," the nun continued, "that you are much more than what happened to you. You are special, Bella, and you have a unique gift to share with the world." That night, during dinner, something extraordinary happened. When Sister Regina began to play the piano for the children, as she did every night, Bella stood up timidly. Can I sing?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. Sister Regina's smile lit up the entire dining room. "Of course you can, dear. What song do you want to sing?" Bella closed her eyes and began to sing Amazing Grace, a song her mother always sang to her at bedtime. Her voice, crystal clear and emotive, filled the room, making all the other children stop what they were doing to listen. Madison, watching her friend sing, smiled with pride. She knew this was just the beginning of Bella's journey, but it was an important start. In the pocket of her apron, Sister Grace clutched her rosary, silently thanking for the small victory of that night. And so, within the walls of St. Clair's home, a new Bella began to emerge. A girl who, even carrying her scars, was discovering little by little that her voice could be more than a lament. It could be her strength, her identity, and one day, her path to healing. Autumn had already given way to winter when the Johnsons visited St. Clair's home for the first time. Laura, a university literature professor, and Andrew, conductor of the Boston Symphony Orchestra, arrived on a Saturday morning, bringing with them the hope of completing their family. "They're different from the other couples who usually visit us," Sister Regina commented to Sister Grace, observing how Laura and Andrew interacted naturally with the children during breakfast, without that typical anxiety of adoption candidates. Bella, now almost 7 years old, discreetly observed the couple from above her storybook. In recent months, she had become a silent but constant presence in the orphanage library, immersing herself in stories that helped her escape her own reality. Andrew was the first to notice the solitary girl in the corner of the common room. He approached slowly, interested in the book she was reading with such concentration. "The Little Prince. That's an excellent choice," he commented, sitting in a nearby armchair. "What's your favorite part?" Bella hesitated for a moment before answering, "When he talks about the stars, that they're different for each person." "Ah, yes. For some who travel, the stars are guides. For others, they are nothing more than little lights," Andrew quoted, impressed with the maturity of the response. The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. Andrew noticed how Bella's fingers softly tapped on the book cover, following their own rhythm. Laura, who had been observing the scene from afar, also approached, carrying her own worn copy of The Little Prince. "Did you know that this book has a hidden song on each page?" Laura asked, sitting on the other side of Bella. The girl looked up, genuinely curious. "What do you mean?" "Well, each story has its own melody. You just have to pay attention to the rhythm of the words," Laura explained, opening the book to a random page. "See, when we read aloud..." Before Laura could continue, Bella began to hum softly, transforming the words on the page into an improvised melody. Andrew and Laura exchanged a surprised and moved look. Madison, who was passing through the hallway at that moment, stopped to listen to her friend sing. It was the first time she had seen Bella interacting so naturally with visitors. Usually she would hide in the library until the potential adoptive parents had left. In the following weekends, the Johnsons returned to the orphanage. Each visit brought something new. Andrew with old sheet music that he patiently explained to Bella, Laura with books they read together, creating melodies for each story. "You like them, don't you?" Madison asked one night, as the two shared a packet of cookies that Joe, the truck driver, had brought on his last visit. Bella hugged her knees, thoughtful. "They're different," she admitted. "But what if they leave too?" Madison completed, knowing her friend's fears well. "Sometimes we need to take risks, Bella. Look, you risked being my friend and it worked out, didn't it?" Bella's response was interrupted by Sister Grace, who appeared in the dormitory with a warm smile. "Bella dear, can you come with me for a moment? There are some people who want to talk to you." In the Mother Superior's office, Laura and Andrew waited nervously. When Bella entered, Laura knelt down to be at her eye level. "Bella, we would really like to know if you would accept becoming part of our family," Laura said, her voice trembling slightly with emotion. The girl remained silent for a long moment, her heart beating fast. You won't leave me if I do something wrong?" Andrew approached too, his eyes watery. "Never, little one. Family is forever, no matter what happens." "And can I bring my teddy bear Benny? And my notebook?" Bella asked, her voice almost a whisper. "Of course you can," Laura replied, smiling through tears. "And we can fill your bookshelf with new books and have a piano at home for you to sing. And can I visit Madison and Mr. Joe when he comes?" "Whenever you want," Andrew assured. "St. Clair's home will always be part of your story." Bella looked at Sister Grace, who was watching the scene with shining eyes. The nun nodded encouragingly. Then I want to," Bella finally said, allowing herself to be hugged by her future parents. The following months were of adaptation. The adoption process followed its legal course, while Bella began to spend some weekends at the Johnsons' house, getting to know her new home. The room that would be hers was painted light blue with small golden stars on the ceiling that glowed in the dark. On the night before her final departure from the orphanage, Bella couldn't sleep. Sitting by the usual window, she hummed softly while observing the stars. "I'm going to miss you," Madison said, joining her. "But I'm happy for you. You'll visit me, won't you? Laura and Andrew said you can come whenever you want." "Of course I will. And when I get adopted too, we can do performances together on your dad's piano." The two friends laughed softly, imagining the future. Before returning to their beds, Madison handed Bella a small package. "It's a new diary," she explained, "for you to write your happy stories now." The next morning, when Laura and Andrew came to pick up Bella, St. Clair's home's courtyard was full. All the children, nuns, and staff wanted to say goodbye. Joe, the truck driver, had made a special stop to be present. "Remember, little star," Sister Constance said during the farewell hug, "your shine is unique and special." In the back seat of the Rodriguez car, Bella clutched her pink backpack, now accompanied by a new suitcase with her other belongings. Through the window, she saw Marina waving until the car disappeared around the corner. In her new diary, before going to sleep in her new room that night, Bella wrote her first entry. "Dear Diary, today I learned that sometimes the family we choose can heal the wounds left by the family that left us. And that maybe, just maybe, the stars can have a different meaning now." The years that followed brought a remarkable transformation for Bella. Under the loving care of Laura and Andrew, the shy and withdrawn girl began to blossom, revealing a vibrant personality and an extraordinary musical talent. The piano that occupied a prominent place in the Rodriguez living room became Bella's favorite refuge. Andrew, with his experience as a conductor, quickly recognized his daughter's natural gift and began to guide her in the world of music. "Remember, Bella," he would say during one of their lessons, "music isn't just about the right notes. It's about feeling, expressing, telling a story with sounds." Bella, now 12 years old, nodded in concentration, her fingers dancing over the keys as she interpreted a piece by Chopin. Her dedication was evident. She spent hours practicing, often losing track of time. Laura, observing from the doorway, smiled with pride. "Don't forget about your literature homework, young lady," she reminded her lovingly. "I've already finished it, Mom," Bella replied, without taking her eyes off the sheet music. "I wrote about how music and literature intertwine in narrative." Bella's school life was as brilliant as her musical evolution. Her teachers frequently praised her creativity and depth of thought, especially in her essays. However, not everything was smooth sailing. Despite her new happy life, Bella still carried the scars of abandonment. Occasionally, she had nightmares where she saw herself alone on that road again. In those moments, Laura would hold her tight, whispering words of comfort until she calmed down. "It's okay, my love, we're here, you're safe," Laura would repeat, stroking her daughter's hair. One night, after one of these episodes, Bella asked hesitantly, "Mom, do you think I'll ever stop dreaming about that day?" Laura thought carefully before answering. "Sweetheart, some memories are like scars. They may become less painful over time, but they're part of who we are. The important thing is not to let them define your future." It was during this time that Bella began composing her own music. Initially, they were simple melodies, reflections of her conflicting feelings, but with time and encouragement from her parents, her compositions gained complexity and depth. Andrew, recognizing his daughter's potential, began to include her in small local performances. The first time Bella performed in public was at a recital at the music school where she studied. Backstage, minutes before going on stage, Bella felt panic rising. "What if I make a mistake? What if they don't like it?" she whispered to Andrew, her hands shaking. "Take a deep breath," Andrew advised, holding his daughter's hands. "Remember what I always say, music is your story. Tell it with your heart and no one can say it's wrong." When Bella finally sat down at the piano, the silence in the audience was palpable. Her fingers touched the first notes of her original composition, Silent Stars. As the music flowed, it was as if each note told a piece of her journey, the abandonment, the loneliness, but also the hope and rebirth. In the audience, Laura discreetly wiped away tears, recognizing in the melody the nights she had consoled Bella after nightmares. Andrew, watching from the wings, felt his heart swell with pride and emotion. When the last note echoed through the auditorium, there was a moment of absolute silence before the audience erupted into applause. Bella, still seated at the piano, allowed herself a small smile, feeling for the first time that she had transformed her pain into something beautiful. In the months that followed, Bella's life gained a new rhythm. Her compositions began to attract attention beyond school circles. A video of her performance of Silent Stars went viral on social media, reaching thousands of views. "Look at this, Bella," exclaimed Marina, who continued to be a constant presence in her friend's life, even after being adopted by a family in Sao Paulo. "People from all over Brazil are commenting on your music." Bella, reading the comments, felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. Many people shared how the music had touched them, as if it spoke directly to their hearts. Some even mentioned their own experiences of abandonment and overcoming. "It's a lot of responsibility," Bella murmured, feeling the weight of so many expectations. "It's a gift," Laura corrected, who had joined the girls. "You're touching people, Bella. You're showing that it's possible to transform pain into something beautiful." As her local fame grew, Bella faced new challenges. At school, some classmates began to treat her differently, some with excessive admiration, others with poorly disguised envy. The teenager struggled to find a balance between her passion for music and the desire for a normal life. It was in this context that Andrew received a surprising invitation. The State Youth Orchestra was holding auditions for new talents, and Bella's name had been mentioned. "It's an incredible opportunity," Andrew said, showing the letter to Laura and Bella. "But the decision is yours, daughter. There's no pressure." Bella spent days reflecting on the proposal. On one hand, it was a dream she didn't even know she had. On the other, it meant even greater exposure, plus hours of rehearsal that could affect her school and social life. One night, while playing distractedly on the piano, Bella had an epiphany. The music her fingers were creating wasn't just hers. It was a reflection of all the people who had shaped her. It was Marina's strength, Sister Constance's kindness, Laura's affection, Andrew's wisdom. And somehow it was also a distant echo of that woman who had left her on the road years ago. "I want to do the audition," Bella announced at breakfast the next morning. "Not for the recognition, but because I think I have something to say through music, something that might help other people like me." Laura and Andrew exchanged a look of understanding and pride. Their daughter was growing, not just in stature, but in wisdom and purpose. "Then let's work hard for this audition," Andrew said, with an encouraging smile. "But remember, Bella, no matter the outcome, we're proud of you, always." That afternoon, sitting at the piano, Bella began to compose a new piece. This time it wasn't about abandonment or loneliness. It was about family, about choices, about the transformative power of love. As her hands danced over the keys, she knew she was on the right path, not just for the audition, but for her life journey. Outside the music room, Laura and Andrew listened in silence, marveling at their daughter's evolution. The melody that flowed was a promise of a bright future, built on the foundations of an overcome past. The big day of the audition for the State Youth Orchestra finally arrived. Bella, now 15 years old, nervously adjusted the sky-blue dress she had chosen for the occasion. Her fingers, which normally danced confidently over the piano keys, now trembled slightly as she pinned a small golden star in her hair, a good luck gift from Marina. "Remember to breathe, darling," Laura whispered, helping her daughter with the final details. "You're already a winner just by being here." Andrew, who was waiting in the living room, smiled as he saw Bella emerge from the bedroom. "My star," he said, hugging her affectionately. "No matter what happens today, we're proud of you." The journey to the Municipal Theatre, where the audition would take place, was silent. Bella mentally reviewed the piece she had composed especially for this occasion, a composition she had titled Symphony of Second Chances. As they arrived at the imposing theatre building, Bella felt the weight of responsibility fall on her shoulders. Dozens of young talents from all over the state were there, all competing for a spot in the prestigious orchestra. "Bella Rodriguez?" a voice called. A middle-aged woman with a badge identifying her as part of the evaluation committee approached. "You're next. Are you ready?" With a last look at her parents, who gave her encouraging smiles, Bella nodded and followed the woman to the stage. The auditorium was larger than any place she had ever performed. The bright stage lights almost blinded her momentarily. Before her, a magnificent grand piano awaited, and there, seated at a table in the center of the auditorium, were the 5 judges who would decide her fate. "Please introduce yourself and tell us what you will be playing," one of the judges requested. Taking a deep breath, Bella spoke into the microphone. "My name is Bella Rodriguez. Today I will be presenting an original composition called Symphony of Second Chances." There was a murmur of interest among the judges. Original compositions were rare in auditions. Sitting at the piano, Bella closed her eyes for a moment, centering herself. When her fingers touched the first notes, it was as if the world around her disappeared. The music began softly, almost hesitantly, like a child's first steps. Gradually, the melody gained strength, intertwining themes of hope with notes of melancholy. It was the story of her life, translated into music. The abandonment, the loneliness of the orphanage, the fear of trusting again. But then the composition changed, introducing new chords that spoke of love, acceptance, and rebirth. The climax of the piece was an explosion of emotions, where Bella let shine through all the gratitude and joy she felt for her adoptive family, without ever forgetting her roots. The last notes were a whisper of hope, a promise of a bright future built on an overcome past. When the last note echoed through the auditorium, there was a moment of absolute silence. Bella opened her eyes, returning to reality, and saw something that surprised her. Some of the judges had tears in their eyes. "Impressive, Miss Rodriguez," said one of the evaluators, the first to compose himself. "Can you tell us a bit about the inspiration for this piece?" Bella hesitated for a moment but decided to be honest. "This music tells my story. I was abandoned as a child, went through an orphanage and was lucky enough to be adopted by wonderful parents. It's a story about losses, but also about new beginnings and the transformative power of love." The silence that followed was charged with emotion. Finally, the president of the jury spoke. "Thank you, Bella. Your performance was deeply touching. We will be in touch with the results soon." Leaving the stage with shaky legs, Bella was immediately enveloped in a warm hug from her parents. "You were incredible, my love," exclaimed Laura, with tears in her eyes. "They were truly impressed," added Andrew, pride evident in his voice. In the days that followed, the wait for the result was agonizing. Bella tried to distract herself with her normal activities, school, music lessons, meetings with Marina, but the anxiety was palpable. Finally, on a Thursday night, the phone rang. Laura answered, and after a few moments of conversation, called Bella with a smile on her face. "It's for you, dear. It's the youth orchestra." With her heart racing, Bella picked up the phone. "Hello? Miss Rodriguez, this is Clarissa Mendez from the State Youth Orchestra Committee. It is with great pleasure that we inform you that you have been selected not only to join our orchestra, but also to be our guest soloist at the opening concert of the season." Bella could hardly believe what she was hearing. Not only had she been accepted, but she had received an additional honor that was rarely granted to new members. "Thank you. I don't know what to say," Bella stuttered, overwhelmed with emotion. "Your performance and your story deeply moved us," Clarissa continued. "We believe your music has the power to touch many hearts. Congratulations, Bella. We look forward to seeing you at rehearsals next week." After hanging up the phone, Bella threw herself into her parents' arms, laughing and crying at the same time. It was more than she had ever dreamed of. "I'm so proud of you, my star," said Laura, hugging her tightly. Andrew, with tears in his eyes, added, "You deserve it, Bella. Your talent and dedication have brought you here." That night, while everyone slept, Bella sat at her desk and opened her diary. With a smile on her lips, she wrote, "Dear Diary, today I learned that our experiences, even the painful ones, can become our greatest strength. My music, born from the pain of abandonment, now has the power to touch other people. I don't know what the future holds, but I know that whatever happens, I have a family that loves me and a purpose to follow. And maybe, just maybe, through my music, I can help other forgotten stars shine again." Closing the diary, Bella looked out the window at the starry sky. For the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to think about her biological mother, not with anger or sadness, but with a quiet curiosity. Where would she be now? Would she know about her daughter's success? With these thoughts, Bella fell asleep, dreaming of the melodies she would yet create and the lives she could touch through her music. The years that followed brought an extraordinary transformation for Bella. Her participation in the State Youth Orchestra opened doors she had never imagined. At 18, Bella was not just a talented pianist, but a recognized composer whose works were beginning to gain notoriety beyond the borders of São Paulo. The opening concert of the season, where Bella made her debut as a soloist, was a milestone in her career. Her performance of Symphony of Second Chances drew tears and applause from the audience, including renowned critics who were present. "A revelation," wrote a critic from the Estado newspaper. "Bella Rodriguez doesn't just play. She tells stories through her compositions, touching the soul of those who listen." With success came media attention. Journalists wanted to know more about the young prodigy and her inspiring story. Bella, initially hesitant to share her past, realized that her experience could inspire others. "I believe music has the power to heal," she said in an interview for a culture magazine. "Every note I compose is a part of my journey, and if it can help someone overcome their own difficulties, then I feel I've fulfilled my purpose." Laura and Andrew observed their daughter's growth with a mixture of pride and concern. They were happy for her success, but also attentive to ensure that Bella didn't lose sight of who she was amidst the growing fame. "Always remember your roots, my love," Laura advised one night after a particularly acclaimed concert. "Your music is powerful because it comes from the heart." Bella nodded, grateful for her parents' constant support. "I know, Mom. That's why I make sure to keep visiting St. Clair's home whenever I can. I don't want to forget where I came from." These visits to the orphanage became an important part of Bella's life. She not only donated part of her earnings to the institution, but also gave music lessons to the children, hoping to inspire them as she had been inspired. It was during one of these visits that Bella had an idea that would change the course of her career. Observing the children singing and playing simple instruments, she thought about how music had been her salvation. Why not create a project that would bring music education to children in vulnerable situations? With the enthusiastic support of her parents and using her contacts in the music industry, Bella launched the Notes of Hope project. The initiative aimed to bring music lessons and instruments to orphanages and underprivileged communities throughout Brazil. The project quickly gained supporters, including famous musicians and companies willing to sponsor the cause. Bella dedicated more and more time to this, balancing her rising career with the desire to give back to society. One day, while organizing a charity event for Notes of Hope, Bella received an unexpected call from Sister Constance. "Bella, my dear," the nun's voice sounded emotional. "Something happened that you need to know. A woman came to the orphanage today asking about you." Bella's heart raced. "Who was it, sister?" There was a pause on the other end of the line. "She said she was your biological mother, Bella, Helena Mendonça." The world seemed to stop for a moment. Bella felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. After years of not actively thinking about the woman who had abandoned her, suddenly she resurfaced. Did she leave any contact information?" Bella asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Yes, dear. She left a phone number and said she would very much like to speak with you if you're willing." Bella thanked Sister Constance and hung up the phone, feeling completely lost. What to do with this information? Why was her biological mother looking for her now after so many years? That night, Bella shared the news with Laura and Andrew. Her adoptive parents, always supportive, assured her that whatever decision she made would be respected. "You don't owe her anything, Bella," Andrew said gently. "But if you want to meet her, we'll be here to support you," Laura added, hugging her daughter. "Just remember that no matter what happens, you'll always have a home here with us." Bella spent days reflecting on what to do. Part of her wanted to completely ignore Helena's existence, to bury that painful part of her past again. But another part, the part that had learned to transform pain into music, was curious. Finally, after much reflection and conversations with her parents and Marina, Bella decided she was ready to face her past. With trembling hands, she picked up the phone and dialed the number Sister Constance had given her. After a few rings, a female voice answered. "Hello?" Bella took a deep breath before responding. "Hi, this is Bella. I heard you were looking for me at St. Clair's home." There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line, followed by a sound that seemed like a suppressed sob. "Bella, my daughter, I don't even know where to start. There's so much I want to tell you." "Why now?" Bella asked, her voice firmer than she expected. "Why after all these years?" I saw you on television," Helena responded, her voice choked. "Your concert, your music. When I heard Symphony of Second Chances, I knew it was about us, about what I did." "Bella, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but..." Bella interrupted. "You're right, you don't deserve my forgiveness, at least not yet. But maybe we can talk. Not as mother and daughter, but as two people who share a history." They arranged to meet at a neutral cafe the following week. As she hung up the phone, Bella felt a mix of emotions: anxiety, curiosity, a remnant of anger, but also a strange sense of relief. Sitting at the piano, she began to play, letting her feelings flow through the music. A new melody began to take shape. It wasn't about abandonment or hurt, but about the possibility of healing, about facing the past, and perhaps finding a new kind of understanding. As she played, Bella realized that this could be the most challenging and important composition of her life so far. It was the music of a circle that might finally close. The cafe chosen for the meeting was a quiet place in the Pinheiros neighborhood, known for its welcoming and discreet atmosphere. Bella arrived 15 minutes before the agreed time, her fingers nervously drumming on the table as she waited. Laura and Andrew had offered to accompany her, but she decided this was a moment she needed to face alone. At 3 p.m. sharp, the cafe door opened, and Bella immediately recognized the woman who entered. Helena Mendonça seemed to have aged more than her years suggested. Her face, though still beautiful, carried lines of worry and the visible weight of regret. Their gazes met, and for a moment both were paralyzed. It was like looking through a mirror of time. The similarities between mother and daughter were undeniable, from the expressive eyes to the shape of the face. "Bella?" Helena asked hesitantly, approaching the table. Bella nodded, indicating the chair across from her. "Hello, Helena." The use of her first name didn't go unnoticed by Helena, who understood the implicit distance. She sat down, her hands trembling slightly, as she placed them on the table. You're beautiful," Helena began, her voice choked. "I saw your photos, of course, but seeing you in person, why did you abandon me?" Bella interrupted, going straight to the point. Years of questioning and sleepless nights had prepared her for this moment. Helena closed her eyes for an instant, as if gathering courage. "I was broken, Bella. After your father left us, I spiraled into depression and anxiety. I convinced myself that you would be better off without me, that I would only harm you. It was the hardest decision, and now I know the wrongest of my life." Bella listened attentively, years of repressed emotions bubbling to the surface. "Do you have any idea what I went through? The fear, the loneliness, the feeling of not being loved?" "No, I don't," Helena admitted, tears streaming down her face, "and I regret it every day. When I finally sought help and recovered, years had passed. I tried to find you, but you had already been adopted. I thought maybe it would be better to leave you in peace." "So why now?" Bella asked, her voice mixing curiosity and a touch of accusation. "I saw your concert on TV," Helena explained. "When I heard Symphony of Second Chances, it was as if each note pierced my heart. I recognized our story there, Bella. I realized that despite everything I did, You became this incredible and talented woman. I needed to see you, to ask for forgiveness, even knowing I don't deserve it." Bella remained silent for a few moments, processing everything she heard. Part of her wanted to scream, to expose all the pain accumulated over the years. Another part, however, saw in the woman before her not the almost mythical figure who had abandoned her, but a fallible human being, carrying her own burden of guilt and regret. "You're right," Bella finally spoke. "You don't deserve my forgiveness. At least not yet, but..." "But?" Helena asked, a touch of hope in her voice. "But I've spent years transforming my pain into music. I've learned that forgiveness isn't just about the person who wronged, but also about freeing oneself. I can't promise that we'll ever be close, but I'm willing to try to understand." Helena nodded, silent tears streaming down her face. "It's more than I could hope for, Bella, thank you." In the minutes that followed, the conversation flowed hesitantly but steadily. Helena told about her struggle against depression, the years of therapy, and how she had dedicated her life to working with mothers in vulnerable situations in an attempt to prevent other women from making the same mistake she did. Bella, in turn, shared a bit about her life in the orphanage, the adoption by Laura and Andrew, and how music became her salvation. She talked about the Notes of Hope project and how she was using her platform to help other children. At the end of the meeting, which lasted almost 2 hours, both felt emotionally exhausted, but somehow lighter. There were no hugs or grand promises, just a tacit agreement that this was the first step of an uncertain journey. Can I call you from time to time?" Helena asked hesitantly as they prepared to leave. Bella thought for a moment before answering. "Yes, you can, but let's take it slow, okay? This is new for me too." As she left the cafe, Bella felt as if a weight she had been carrying for years had begun to dissipate. It wasn't complete forgiveness, nor total acceptance, but it was a start. That night, sitting at the piano at home, Bella began to compose a new piece. The notes flowed from her fingers, charged with emotion. It wasn't a melody of sadness or anger, but a complex composition that spoke of pain, understanding, and the possibility of healing. Laura and Andrew, listening from the living room, exchanged concerned but proud looks. They knew their daughter was facing one of the greatest emotional battles of her life, but they trusted in her strength and resilience. As the last notes echoed through the house, Bella had an epiphany. This new composition, born from the meeting with Helena, would be the core of her next album. An album that would speak not only of her personal story, but would touch all those who had faced abandonment, loss, and the complex journey of forgiveness. With tears in her eyes but a smile on her lips, Bella began to write the title of her new work, Requiem for Abandonment, a symphony of reconciliation. The months that followed the meeting with Helena were intense for Bella. As she worked on her new album, Requiem for Abandonment, she found herself immersed in a whirlwind of long-repressed emotions. Each composition was like opening a new drawer in her heart, revealing memories and feelings she didn't even know she still carried. The creative process was exhausting but cathartic. Bella spent hours at the piano, sometimes crying as she played, other times laughing with relief when she managed to translate a particularly difficult emotion into music. Laura and Andrew observed with a mixture of admiration and concern, always ready to offer support when their daughter needed it. "It's as if I'm composing not just with my fingers, but with every cell in my body," Bella confided to Marina during one of their weekly meetups. "Each note is a part of my story, of our story." Marina, who had become a psychologist focused on art therapy, deeply understood her friend's process. "You're doing more than composing, Bella. You're healing yourself, and probably you're going to heal many other people with this music." Parallel to creating the album, Bella maintained sporadic contact with Helena. The calls were short, sometimes tense, but always honest. Gradually, Bella began to see Helena not as the almost mythological figure who had abandoned her, but as a real woman with flaws and deep regrets. One afternoon, after a particularly intense composition session, Bella decided to do something she had never imagined. She invited Helena to listen to a snippet of the new album. The meeting was set at the studio where Bella was recording. When Helena arrived, visibly nervous, Bella led her to the piano. "This piece is called Echo of Abandonment," Bella explained, her voice trembling slightly. It's It's about that day on the road. The first notes were soft, almost hesitant, like a child's steps. Gradually, the melody gained intensity, transforming into a whirlwind of emotions: fear, confusion, despair. Helena listened with tears in her eyes, reliving that terrible moment through her daughter's music. But then, something unexpected happened. The composition changed, introducing notes of hope, of resilience. It was as if Bella was telling not just the story of abandonment, but also of her journey of overcoming. When the last note echoed through the studio, there was a moment of profound silence. Helena, her face bathed in tears, looked at Bella with a mixture of pain and admiration. I'm so sorry," Helena sobbed. "I'm sorry for everything." Bella, also emotional, did something that surprised them both. She reached out and held Helena's hand. It wasn't total forgiveness, nor complete acceptance, but it was a gesture of understanding, a small step towards healing. "This music," Bella explained, her voice soft, "isn't just about what happened. It's about how we choose to move forward, about transforming pain into something beautiful." In the days that followed, Bella felt as if something had changed inside her. The anger and resentment she had carried for so long began to dissipate, giving way to a deeper and more complex understanding of her story. The album Requiem for Abandonment took shape not just as a musical work, but as a testament to human resilience. Each track told a part of Bella's journey, from the initial abandonment to the recent reunion, through adoption, the discovery of music, and the building of a new life. One night, while finalizing the last track of the album, Bella had a bold idea. She called Helena. "I'd like you to be part of the album," Bella said, surprising not only Helena but herself. "Not playing or singing, but telling your side of the story. I think it's important for people to hear both sides, to understand that healing and forgiveness are a two-way street." Helena was silent for a moment, clearly moved. "Are you sure, Bella? I don't deserve to be on your album." "It's not about deserving," Bella replied. "It's about telling the truth, the whole truth. And the truth is that our story didn't begin when you left me on that road, nor did it end there. We're writing a new chapter now." The recording with Helena was intense and emotional. Her voice narrating the events that led to the abandonment and the years of regret that followed would be incorporated into the album's final track, Symphony of Reconciliation. When the album was ready, Bella gathered her adoptive parents, Marina, and, for the first time, Helena, for a private listening session. The experience was cathartic for everyone. Laura and Andrew, listening to their daughter's emotional evolution through music, felt a mixture of pride and gratitude. Marina, who had accompanied Bella's entire journey, couldn't contain her tears. Helena, for her part, experienced an emotional roller coaster. Hearing her daughter's story, the consequences of her actions and the path to healing, all translated into music, was overwhelming. At the end of the listening session, Bella looked at the gathered group and said with a choked voice, "This album isn't just about me or about us. It's about everyone who has ever felt abandoned, who has struggled to overcome the past and find strength to move forward. It's a message of hope." That night, after everyone had left, Bella sat at the piano once more. As she played softly, she reflected on her journey. She realized that Requiem for Abandonment wasn't an end, but a new beginning. It was the closing of a painful chapter and the start of a new phase in her life and career. With a serene smile, Bella began to imagine her next project. Perhaps it was time to compose not about the past, but about the future. A future full of possibilities, new bonds, and music that would continue to touch and transform lives. The release of Requiem for Abandonment was a milestone not only in Bella's career, but also in the Brazilian music industry. The album, with its unique blend of contemporary classical music and personal narrative, touched the public in a way no one had anticipated. Critics praised Bella's courage and raw honesty. A renowned music critic wrote, "Rodriguez doesn't just compose. She exposes her soul in every note, inviting us on a journey of pain, forgiveness, and ultimately, hope." Radio stations couldn't stop playing Echo of Abandonment, the track Bella had shown Helena in the studio. The music struck a chord with many listeners who identified with the narrative of loss and overcoming. But it was the final track, Symphony of Reconciliation with Helena's narration, that really captured the public's attention. The brutal honesty of a mother confronting her mistakes, combined with Bella's music of forgiveness, sparked a national dialogue about abandonment, mental health, and the power of forgiveness. Bella found herself at the center of unprecedented media attention. Talk shows, magazines, and newspapers all wanted to hear her story. She decided to use this platform not to promote herself, but to bring awareness to issues of child abandonment and the importance of psychological support. "Music was my salvation," she would say in interviews, "but not all children have that outlet. We need to create more support networks, more opportunities for these children to express themselves and heal." The Notes of Hope project gained tremendous momentum with the album's success. Companies and celebrities offered to sponsor the initiative, allowing Bella to expand the program to more cities. Amidst all this whirlwind, Bella's relationship with Helena continued to evolve slowly. It wasn't an easy or quick reconciliation, but little by little they began to build something new. "I have experience working with mothers in vulnerable situations. Maybe we could create a program to prevent abandonments, to support these women before they make drastic decisions." Bella was silent for a moment, caught off guard. The idea of working side by side with Helena was something she had never considered. However, she couldn't deny the logic of the proposal. That could work," Bella responded slowly. "We'd have to plan carefully, of course, but you're right, prevention is as important as healing." In the weeks that followed, Bella and Helena began working together on the new arm of the project, which they called Cradle of Sounds. The initiative aimed to offer music classes for pregnant women and recent mothers in vulnerable situations, as well as providing psychological support and practical resources. Working together brought challenges and moments of tension, but also opportunities for healing that neither had anticipated. Seeing Helena dedicate herself so passionately to helping other women, Bella began to see a different side of her biological mother, not just the woman who had abandoned her, but someone determined to fix her mistakes and make a difference. The first Cradle of Sounds event was held in an underprivileged community in Sao Paulo. Bella played the piano while Helena conducted a workshop for young mothers. Observing the interaction between the two, Laura, who was present to offer support, felt a complex mixture of emotions: pride in Bella, admiration for the strength of both in overcoming the past, and a twinge of something she recognized, with surprise, as jealousy. Later that night, Laura spoke openly with Bella about her feelings. "I'm so proud of you, my love," she said, "for being able to work with Helena like this, but I confess I also feel a little insecure." Bella hugged her adoptive mother tightly. "Mom, you and Dad are my safe haven. Nothing will change that. What I'm building with Helena is different. It's a partnership to help other people. But you are and always will be my mum." These words touched Laura deeply, reaffirming the special bond she shared with her daughter. As Cradle of Sounds grew, Bella found herself inspired in a way she hadn't expected. The stories of the mothers who participated in the program, their struggles and hopes, began to influence her compositions in a new and exciting way. One night, after a particularly touching event, Bella sat at the piano and began to play a melody that had emerged in her mind. It was something different from anything she had composed before, a piece that spoke not of pain or abandonment, but of rebirth, of new beginnings, of hope. As her fingers danced over the keys, Bella felt she was on the threshold of something new and exciting in her musical career. This new composition wasn't a requiem, but an anthem to human resilience, to the capacity to heal and be healed, to forgive and be forgiven. With tears in her eyes but a smile on her lips, Bella continued to play, letting the music flow freely. She knew this was just the beginning of a new chapter in her life, a chapter full of possibilities, healing, and above all, a harmony she had never imagined possible. The success of Cradle of Sounds and Bella's musical evolution did not go unnoticed by the music industry. Invitations for international performances began to arrive, along with proposals for collaborations with renowned artists from various genres. Bella, now 25 years old, found herself at a crossroads. On one hand, the opportunity to expand her career globally was tempting. On the other, she felt a deep commitment to the social projects she had initiated in Brazil. It was during this period of reflection that Bella received an invitation that would change the course of her career. UNESCO invited her to become a goodwill ambassador, focusing on music education programs for children in vulnerable situations around the world. "It's an incredible opportunity, Bella," said Andrew when she shared the news. "You could take notes of hope to a global scale." Laura, always attentive to her daughter's emotional well-being, asked, "And how do you feel about this, darling?" "It's a big responsibility." Bella took a deep breath before answering. "It's scary, but I feel like it's the natural next step. I can use my music, not just to express myself, but to really make a difference in the world." The decision to accept the role of UNESCO ambassador brought a new dimension to Bella's life. In the months that followed, she found herself traveling to diverse countries, from underprivileged communities in India to refugee camps in Syria, always bringing with her the message of hope through music. In each place she visited, Bella not only performed but also listened. She listened to the stories of children who, like her, had faced abandonment and adversity. These stories intertwined with her music, inspiring new compositions that transcended cultural and linguistic barriers. During a visit to an orphanage in Colombia, Bella had an epiphany. Observing the children singing a local traditional song, she realized that music was truly a universal language of healing. Back in Brazil, Bella began working on her most ambitious project yet, a collaborative album titled Voices of the World. The idea was to incorporate musical elements and vocals from children from various countries she had visited, creating a global symphony of hope and resilience. The process of creating this album was intense and emotionally charged. Bella spent months traveling, recording, and composing. Each track on the album told a different story, but they all united in a common message of overcoming and unity. Helena, who continued her work with Cradle of Sounds in Brazil, supported Bella from a distance. Their relationship, though still complex, had evolved into a partnership based on mutual respect and a shared goal of doing good. "I'm proud of you, Bella," Helena said during a video call while Bella was in Ethiopia. "You've transformed our story into something bigger than both of us." These words touched Bella deeply. She realized that the forgiveness she had granted Helena was not just an act of personal liberation, but had become the foundation of a much larger movement of healing and compassion. The release of Voices of the World was a global event. The album not only topped charts in various countries, but also generated a social movement. People around the world began sharing their own stories of overcoming, inspired by Bella's journey and the voices of the children on the album. The title track, Symphony of Redemption, became an unofficial anthem for children's rights organizations worldwide. The piece, which blended Bella's piano virtuosity with a choir of children from various countries, perfectly captured the message of hope and unity she wanted to convey. In an interview with the BBC, Bella reflected on her journey. "I started this career seeking to heal my own wounds through music. Now I realize that true healing comes from using our experiences to help others. Each child we manage to reach with our music is a victory not just over abandonment, but over indifference." The impact of Voices of the World went beyond music. Governments and international organizations began to pay more attention to issues of child abandonment and the importance of music education. Bella's Notes of Hope project was adopted as a model by several countries. Amidst all this success and recognition, Bella never forgot her roots. She made a point of regularly returning to St. Clair's home, now equipped with a state-of-the-art music studio thanks to her donations. During one of these visits, Bella found a 7-year-old girl sitting alone at the piano, trying to pick out a melody. The scene reminded her so much of herself that she couldn't help but approach. "Hi," Bella said gently. "What's your name?" "Sophie," the girl replied shyly. "That's a beautiful melody, Sophie. Would you like to learn more?" The girl's face lit up with a smile, and Bella felt her heart swell with emotion. At that moment, she understood that her journey had come full circle. Now, it was her turn to be the extended hand, the attentive ear, the mentor she herself would have wished to have as a child. As she began to teach Sophie the first chords, Bella thought about all the paths that had led her here: the abandonment, the adoption, the music, the forgiveness. Each experience, each pain, and each joy had transformed into notes of a greater symphony. A symphony of redemption not just for her but for children around the world. And so, in the small studio at St. Clair's home, a new story began to be written. A new melody began to take shape. Bella knew that as long as there was music, there would be hope. And as long as there was hope, there would be the possibility of transforming even the most painful stories into symphonies of love and healing. The years that followed brought a series of changes and achievements for Bella. Her work as a UNESCO ambassador and the continued success of her musical projects transformed her into a global figure of hope and renewal. However, despite all the fame and recognition, Bella never lost sight of her primary mission: to use music as an instrument of healing and transformation. At 30, Bella decided it was time for a new challenge. Inspired by her experience teaching Sophie and other children at St. Clair's Home, she conceived the idea of founding an international music academy, not just to train musicians, but to create agents of change through art. The World Harmony Academy, as it was called, would be a space where young talents from around the world, especially those from underprivileged communities or who had faced adversity, could learn, create, and heal through music. The project was ambitious and required all the networking and resources Bella had accumulated over the years. Laura and Andrew, now retired, offered to help with the Academy's administration. Helena, with her experience working with vulnerable communities, became a valuable consultant for the project. The construction of the Academy was a truly global effort. Renowned international architects offered to design a campus that was not only functional but also inspiring. The chosen location was a large area on the outskirts of São Paulo, combining proximity to nature with easy access to the city. The inauguration day of the World Harmony Academy was an exciting event. Musicians, celebrities, world leaders, and most importantly, young people from various countries gathered to celebrate the beginning of this new journey. Bella, standing on the stage of the impressive main auditorium, looked at the diverse audience and felt a wave of emotion wash over her. "Welcome to the World Harmony Academy," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "This place is born from a dream that music can not only express our pains and joys, but also unite us and heal us. Each of you here has a unique story, a melody of your own. Together we will create a symphony of change that will echo throughout the world." The Academy's first classes were a mosaic of cultures, experiences, and talents. There were young Syrian refugees playing alongside South Korean musical prodigies, children from Brazilian favelas composing with students from European conservatories. Diversity was not just celebrated, but seen as the main creative force of the Academy. The curriculum of the World Harmony Academy went beyond traditional music education. In addition to instrument and music theory classes, students participated in therapeutic composition workshops, studied the neurological and psychological impacts of music, and were encouraged to create projects that would bring music as a tool for transformation to their home communities. Bella, although busy with the Academy's administration, made a point of being directly involved with the students. She gave regular piano and composition classes, but her favorite moments were the individual mentoring sessions, where she could connect personally with each student and their stories. One day during one of these sessions, Bella found herself talking with Amina, a young refugee from South Sudan. Amina had lost her entire family in the civil war and found solace in the traditional music of her people. "You know, Amina," Bella said softly, "your story reminds me a lot of my own journey. Music was my salvation too." Amina looked at Bella with eyes full of admiration and hope. "Do you think one day I'll be able to use my music to help other people like you do?" "I'm sure of it," Bella replied with a warm smile. "In fact, I have a challenge for you. How about we compose a piece together that mixes elements of South Sudanese music with classical piano? We could present it at the next Academy concert." Amina's face lit up at the idea, and the two spent the next few hours exploring musical possibilities, creating a unique fusion of tradition and innovation. This type of collaboration and mentoring became a trademark of the World Harmony Academy. Students were constantly challenged to step out of their comfort zones, to explore new styles, and to use their music as a force for good. As the Academy's first years passed, its impact began to be felt globally. Former students returned to their home communities and started their own musical social impact projects. International collaborations were born, creating cultural bridges through music. The Academy became a beacon of hope and a model of how art can be a powerful force for social change. For Bella, seeing the success of the Academy and the growth of her students was the realization of a dream she didn't even know she had as a child. Each story of overcoming, each new composition born from pain transformed into beauty, was a reminder of the redemptive power of music. One night, after a particularly emotional concert where students from various countries performed together, Bella found herself alone in the grand auditorium. Sitting at the piano, she began to play softly, letting her emotions flow through the music. The melody that emerged was different from anything she had ever composed. It was a piece that spoke of completed journeys, of closed circles, of pain transformed into purpose. It was the music of a life that had found its true calling. As she played, Bella thought of all the paths that had led her here, the abandonment on the road, St. Clair's home, the adoption by Laura and Andrew, the reunion with Helena, her travels around the world, and now the World Harmony Academy. Each experience, each challenge, each victory had become a note in this great composition that was her life. With tears in her eyes but a smile on her lips, Bella continued to play, knowing that this new melody was just the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where her music was no longer just hers, but a living legacy that would continue to play, inspire, and transform lives long after the last note faded away. 20 years passed since the founding of the World Harmony Academy. Bella, now 50, looked back with a mixture of pride and awe at the journey traveled. The Academy had become a globally respected institution, with branches in various countries and thousands of graduates, each carrying forward the mission of transforming lives through music. On a sunny spring morning, Bella received news that made her pause for reflection. She had been chosen to receive the Nobel Peace Prize in recognition of her pioneering work in using music as an instrument of reconciliation and social change. The news quickly spread, and congratulatory messages began pouring in from all corners of the world. Former students, fellow musicians, world leaders, all celebrating this achievement that in a way they felt was theirs too. Laura and Andrew, now elderly but still active in their daughter's life, were the first to embrace her personally. "We're so proud of you, our star," Laura said with tears in her eyes. Helena, who over the years had become a constant and positive presence in Bella's life, sent an emotional message. "You've transformed our story into something greater than we could have imagined. Your forgiveness and strength have changed the world." In the months leading up to the Nobel ceremony, Bella found herself reflecting deeply on her journey. She decided that her acceptance speech would not just be about her achievements, but a celebration of all the lives that had intertwined with hers along the way. The big day finally arrived. The hall in Oslo was filled with dignitaries, artists, and activists from around the world. But for Bella, the most important presences were those of her family. Laura and Andrew, Helena, Marina, and Sophie, the girl from St. Clair's home, who was now a promising young composer. When Bella took the stage to receive the award and give her speech, she felt a wave of emotion wash over her. Looking at the audience, she saw not just the important personalities, but also faces of children and young people she had helped over the years, some present physically, others watching from afar. "This award," she began, "is not just mine. It belongs to every child who found hope through music. It belongs to every young person who transformed their pain into a beautiful melody. It belongs to every person who believed that art can change the world." Bella continued, her voice gaining strength. "My journey began with abandonment, but was redeemed by love. I learned that our deepest wounds can become our greatest strengths. Music saved me, and through it I discovered my purpose of helping others save themselves too." She spoke about the World Harmony Academy, about the peace projects that were born from it, about how music had built bridges between cultures and healed old wounds. But most importantly, she spoke about the power of forgiveness and transformation. "The true power of music," she concluded, "lies not just in the notes we play, but in the lives we touch. Each of us has a unique melody within us. When we learn to listen and harmonize these melodies, we create a symphony of change that can echo for generations." After the speech, there was a moment of reverent silence followed by a standing ovation that seemed to have no end. But for Bella, the most powerful moment was yet to come. That night, a special concert was held in her honor. On stage, a diverse group of musicians, former students of the Academy, renowned artists and young talents from underprivileged communities gathered for a unique performance. The centerpiece of the concert was a special composition by Bella titled Symphony of Life. It was an ambitious work that incorporated elements from her experiences over the years, echoes of her childhood in the orphanage, the joy of finding a family, the pain of abandonment transformed into purpose, and the harmony of lives touched by music. As Bella sat at the piano to lead the orchestra in this final performance, she felt as if her entire life had been a preparation for this moment. Her hands touched the first notes, and the music began to flow. The Symphony of Life was more than a musical piece. It was a sonic testament to a journey of redemption and hope. Each movement told a part of her story, but also echoed the stories of countless others who had been touched by her music over the years. As she played, Bella saw flashes of her life passing before her eyes. The road where she was abandoned, Sister Constance's welcoming smile, Laura and Andrew's warm embrace, the tense reunion with Helena, the smiling faces of children in orphanages around the world, the bright eyes of her students at the academy. The music grew into a powerful crescendo, uniting all these memories, all these lives into a transcendent harmony. It was a celebration not just of her personal journey, but of all the good that had been born from it. When the last note echoed through the hall, there was a moment of absolute silence. Then, like a wave, emotion took over the audience. Tears, smiles, hugs, the music had touched something deep in everyone present. Bella stood up looking at the audience with gratitude. She saw Laura and Andrew, her adoptive parents, crying with pride. She saw Helena, her biological mother, with a look of admiration and mutual forgiveness. She saw Marina, her longtime friend, smiling with the joy of a shared journey. And she saw Sophie, now a young woman, representing all the lives she had helped transform. At that moment, Bella understood that her life had become a true symphony, a complex and beautiful composition made of moments of pain and joy, of challenges and triumphs. Each note, each chord, each pause had been essential to create this masterpiece. As the applause continued, Bella felt a deep peace. She knew that her music would continue to echo, touching lives and inspiring changes long after the last note faded. Her journey, which had begun with abandonment on a lonely road, had transformed into a concert of hope for the world. And so, with gratitude in her heart and music in her soul, Bella looked to the future, ready to compose the next chapters of her symphony of life, knowing that each note had the power to transform, heal, and unite. In the years that followed her Nobel Prize, Bella's influence continued to grow, but in ways she hadn't anticipated. The World Harmony Academy had become a model for music education and social transformation, with similar institutions springing up across the globe. Governments and NGOs sought her advice on using arts for conflict resolution and community healing. As she approached her 60th birthday, Bella began to consider her legacy. She had touched countless lives, but she felt there was still more to do. It was during this period of reflection that she received an unexpected call from the United Nations. "Ms. Rodriguez," the Secretary General's voice came through the phone, "we're facing unprecedented global challenges, climate change, political divisions, economic inequalities. We believe that your approach to music and healing could be applied on a larger scale. Would you consider leading a new UN initiative for global harmony?" Bella was stunned. This was far beyond anything she had imagined. I'm honored," she stammered. "But how exactly would this work?" The Secretary General explained the vision, a program that would use music and arts to bridge divides between nations, to give voice to the voiceless, and to create a new narrative of global unity. It would involve working with world leaders, grassroots organizations, and artists from every corner of the planet. After careful consideration and discussions with her family, Bella accepted the challenge. The next few years were a whirlwind of activity. She traveled to conflict zones, bringing together musicians from opposing sides to create collaborative pieces. She worked with economists and environmentalists to compose symphonies that translated complex global issues into emotional, understandable experiences. One of her most impactful projects was the Global Harmony Choir, a virtual choir that brought together voices from every recognized nation on Earth. The resulting performance, a piece called One World, One Song, became a viral sensation, breaking down cultural barriers and reminding people of their shared humanity. As Bella's 70th birthday approached, she began to feel the weight of her years. Her hands, once so nimble on the piano keys, now moved a bit slower. But her mind remained sharp, and her passion for music and healing burned as brightly as ever. It was around this time that she received news that brought her journey full circle. St. Clair's home, where her story had begun, was facing closure due to lack of funding. Without hesitation, Bella mobilized her vast network of supporters and alumni from the World Harmony Academy. In a matter of months, not only was St. Clair's home saved, but it was transformed into a state-of-the-art music therapy center for orphaned and abandoned children. The center would serve as a model for similar institutions worldwide, ensuring that Bella's legacy would continue to touch the lives of children like her for generations to come. On the evening of her 70th birthday, a grand celebration was held at the World Harmony Academy. Students, past and present, gathered to honor the woman who had changed their lives. As Bella sat at the piano, preparing to play, she looked out at the sea of faces before her. She saw Laura and Andrew, now in their 90s, but still radiant with pride. Helena, her biological mother, sat nearby, their relationship now one of deep mutual respect and affection. Marina, her lifelong friend, beamed from the front row. And there, standing near the stage, was Sophie, now the director of the St. Clair's Music Therapy Center. As Bella's fingers touched the keys, she began to play a new composition, The Fullness of Time. The melody spoke of a life lived fully, of pain transformed into purpose, of abandonment redeemed by love. It was a reflection of her journey, but also a universal story of the human spirit's resilience. As the last notes faded away, Bella addressed the audience, her voice filled with emotion. Music gave me a voice when I had none. It gave me a family when I felt abandoned. It gave me purpose when I felt lost. But the greatest gift music has given me is the ability to connect with my own heart, to connect with others, and to connect our world. As I look back on my life, I see that every experience, even the painful ones, were notes in this grand symphony. And as I look forward, I see that the music doesn't end with me. It continues with each of you, with every life you touch, with every heart you heal. Remember, dear ones, that within each of you is a unique melody. When we learn to play our individual tunes in harmony with others, we create something beautiful beyond measure. This is how we change the world, one note, one song, one heart at a time. As applause filled the hall, Bella felt a profound sense of completion. Her life had been a journey from abandonment to belonging, from silence to symphony. And though she knew her own song would one day come to an end, the music she had brought into the world would play on, touching lives and healing hearts for generations to come. In that moment, surrounded by love and the fruits of a life well lived, Bella Rodriguez, the abandoned child who became a beacon of hope for the world, knew that she had found her true home in the endless, beautiful symphony of life.